pain. The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham.
I'm Batman.
Hey now, welcome to episode 173 of the Batman on Film podcast. I'm the host for this episode, Rick Shew. Joining me today is returning guest, all-around badass from Salon.com, host of the very popular Bob Cesca show, Bob Cesca. What's up, Bob? That's three
popular.
Bobs in a row.
That's funny. I'm a very popular part. Yeah. Hey, Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Bob. Good to hear your voice, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and we're going to welcome back bassist and music producer, Freekbass, who funk legend Bootsy Collins calls the spiritual warrior for the funk. His new single and video, Runaway, is now available on all streaming platforms and YouTube. And next week, his label, Color Red, drops his second single, Getting On. Yeah, and I have a little Texan in there, Freak. So it's Getting On.
Yeah, that's the way you should say it.
That's where the Texan comes out of me.
Yeah, well, I'm not Texan, but I got a lot of hillbilly in me, so I feel you on it.
Yeah, right.
I'm allowed to say that because I am a hillbilly.
I have a video of I was on our yearbook committee in high school, and we did a yearbook video. This is like 1992. And I watched it one day a couple of years ago, and I'm like, "Oh, this is Ricky Shew from Mesquite." I'm like, "Whoa, man! I've come a long way." I mean, it was weird.
Wow.
That was college theater that got me out of that, right? It shook me out of it. But it's funny. It's how my dad sounds. It's hilarious. All right, guys. So there's lots of Batman stuff to discuss. I mean,
oh my gosh,
Affleck returning, Keaton returning in the same movie, mind you, and of course the glorious Matt Reeves trailer. Oh my God. But before we jump into all that, there's a little bit of buzz going on about a potential Joel Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. Just curious, is that in your wheelhouse at all? Would you care to see that?
Bob?
I would love to see that, actually. I mean, I have a soft spot in my heart for Batman Forever because when it came out, I had free movie passes. So I somehow convinced my boss at the radio station that I worked for that I needed a press pass. And so I could get into the movies anytime I wanted to, just as a member of the press. Like, oh, yes, I'm reviewing this movie. And oh, by the way, I have to see it for the 12th time in order to review it. And so I ended up seeing Batman Forever that summer maybe a dozen times at bare minimum. So I was really into it at the time. And it didn't age very well, but I think that's partly why I kind of like to see the Schumacher cut. It's see what got cut out and see what was added. I mean, I've seen little bits and pieces on YouTube, but nothing assembled, of course. None of us have seen it assembled. So I'd love to check that out. And I certainly would watch it. That's for sure.
And just for the record, I'm not a fan of the Schumacher films at all, but I'm for any content with Batman. I'm down. If I don't like it, that's fine. I won't necessarily revisit it, but bring it on.
Oh, that movie had tons of problems. Make no mistake. There are lots of things that I could criticize about Batman Forever. Certainly Batman and Robin, but Batman and Robin's in its own category of just whatever you want to call that. A hodgepodge, a melting pot of awfulness. So terrible.
Every time I see Chris O'Donnell.
It's funny. It's terrible. You know what? Watch it from a comedic point of view one time, just looking at it almost like a B movie, almost like the Red Letter Media guys doing one of their commentary tracks or something. If you watch it with that frame of mind, it's endlessly hilarious, Batman and Robin. But Batman Forever, a little less hilarious from the awful point of view, but still quite funny to watch if you just submit to the ridiculousness of it.
And it is ridiculous, and I feel like it's more Batman and Robin specifically. It's more inspired like the TV show. Although I don't think there's as much distance between those two films as some say. That's just me. Freak, what do you think, man? Would you be down for Schumacher cut?
Yeah, well, just like you said, of course, anything with more Batman, of course, I'm never going to say no to that. I've seen a lot of those clips online too that Bob's referring to, which anybody, if you go to YouTube, you can find them fairly easily. Which were pretty dark. I mean, the scenes they cut, at least the scenes I saw, it was kind of like, wow, that didn't even feel, there's the one specifically, I mean, well, there's two, there's the guy with the human bat looking thing, which I think most people have probably seen. And then, the one I saw not too long ago was actually the I think it's like the first 5 or 10 minutes of the movie, the original first 5 or 10 minutes of the movie, which Two-Face is in as well. Toned down a little bit, which is nice. So yeah, with that, I mean, I think I've told you guys on our last time we talked here, I started watching it and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then there's the line, which in the first 5 or 10 minutes about stopping by the drive-thru or whatever. And that just kind of like took the air out of the tire really fast for me.
Right.
And so if they did put in that new beginning, which I think would have been taking the place of the drive-thru part, it would be a good start. I mean, I would love to see it. I think it's and there's so many platforms now to do it. I'm assuming it would be an HBO Max thing, right? Because they pretty much own all the Warner properties now, right? Isn't that?
Well, it's the AT&T stuff, right?
Oh, AT&T. Excuse me. Yes. Yeah.
Right. It's not Warner. If you notice, even on the Snyder Cut stuff, there's nothing Warner Brothers or DC on there. It's just HBO Max, AT&T.
Right, and there's Warner Max. They have Warner Max too, a little Warner Max little logo, which I guess is a combo of two. That was on the, I think the Justice League one. Yeah,
I think I'm saying that right. I think I have that right. I don't know. It's something like that. It's something weird. I'm not 100% sure what I just said was accurate.
Right.
But we're on the same page here. It's not
for sure.
It's not DC. HBO Max isn't DC. It's not Warner. That I know. Where
it seems like AT&T is making a lot of the decisions.
It sounds that way. Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Over. Yeah.
Right. Well, anyway, listen. But before we take off on leave this topic. Although, let me just say this real fast because Freak said something interesting that piqued my interest when he said that some of the scenes seem dark. Well, we know that Schumacher certainly is capable because there's some dark shit in Falling Down.
Oh,
dark stuff in Lost Boys.
Yeah,
right? The man has a dark side.
Yes,
without question. But speaking of dark, we actually have a guy in the shadows right now. That's like Batman Forever toxic apologist, and he kind of wanted to chime in. So,
of course.
Well, for one thing, you are completely incorrect and are wrong, Rick, about what it's AT&T owns all of it now. So DC Comics.
Is that what it is? They own all of it. Okay, that's right. That's right.
Guys, listen to me. Rick doesn't know what he's talking about. So, and
that's why I stopped myself, asshole.
The reason why Justice League or Zack Snyder Justice League is only marked as an HBO Max production is because it's not Warner Brothers who's funding the $30 to $40 million to finish it. It is HBO Max.
Yeah.
It's an HBO Max joint, So as far as it's real quick. And guys, hey, it's Bill. How y'all doing? So
hey, Bill.
Hi. Hello.
Yes. So the thing about Forever is that with the quote unquote Schumacher cut is that if you ever read the novelization, that is about the closest to what that film was originally supposed to be before they rearranged the editing, because they did cut out quite a bit. Did you notice the Red Diary? The Red Diary subplot is not fleshed out. It's very hodgepodge in the film, but the extra scenes makes it a complete story, and it finishes the subplot, and it explains why the movie's called Batman Forever, and that's the thing it's missing. There's you take a little bit out, add the scenes that were in, like the beginning, just real quick, and I'm gonna let y'all get to y'all's podcast, but the beginning, which Freak mentioned, is that completely different opening. You almost had, you had the cold opening where, he with the bank heist and all that, but the original, and it was filmed that way, was at Arkham, and it was Two-Face, and Two-Face had escaped, and it cuts immediately. If you notice, it goes to the scene where Bruce Wayne goes to Wayne Enterprises and he meets Edward Nygma, and then he sees the bat signal. That's where that goes, and then it goes to the bank heist scene and whatnot, and the giant bat thing, and there's a part where he has amnesia, and the whole thing is he learns as Bruce it wasn't his fault that his parents were killed. He had his whole life up to that point he believed that it was him that wanted to go to see the movie, and they went because of him. And then, of course, his parents were killed. And he reads the diary, the Red Diary, and he reads his father's words that it was really them that wanted to go. And so that's, he has the epiphany. The giant bat comes, and he comes out and he says, I'm Batman, Alfred. I'm Batman. And so I look, I don't like Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face, even though I do like the scene where he gives the speech to the guard. Jim Carrey's over the top, but
Yeah.
I still have a soft spot in my heart for Batman Forever because it was, well, number one, it wasn't Batman Returns, and that's a whole different conversation. And that's the movie I watched with my kids when they were little the most,
Sure.
Huh.
And I won't defend Batman and Robin. It's basically the same story beats as Forever, just sillier and more campier. So, but I agree with you, Bobby. You watch it as a homage or a comedy to the '60s show or a straight up comedy. You can get through it. I can get through that.
If you look at it ironically, it's it's pretty entertaining from that point of view. But you know what? It was not a bad movie, and I'm kind of with you, Bill, on it being one of the better Batman movies of that sequence. And there were so many good things about it that I'd really love to see the Schumacher cut just to see how it can be improved, because there are things that kind of take me out of the movie that don't wear
I agree.
as well from objective distance.
If you can ever get hold of the novelization that came out, I want to say Peter David wrote that. The comic book writer wrote the novelization. It's pretty close to what that film, the darker, the longer. I call it the Red Diary cut as opposed to the Schumacher cut. But yeah, I think if you ever get a hold of it, maybe on eBay or Amazon or something, read it. They give you an idea of what it would have been. So
it sounds great.
That's all I got, guys. Have a good show, and hashtag the Batman's coming. See y'all later.
Yes.
Thanks,
Later, Bill. All right, so there you have it. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm recording at his house, and he's like, "Oh, we talk about Schumacher. I got to jump on there and say a few words." It's your show, dude. Jump on. Jump on whenever you want to jump on.
Quick question before we get head out of this, Rick. Does have you, with the rumors going around with Schumacher not being here anymore? It's not like a Zack Snyder situation where he can go in and make the cuts. Like, I wonder who would be the one assembling it. You know what I mean? Like, since there is no Joel Schumacher anymore, like, how would that work?
Yeah, I wonder who the editor was on Batman Forever. I should check that out, because maybe the editor can pick it up.
Yeah, completely. And
possible.
you think about it, I mean, obviously there's conversations, there was a vision, there was storyboards, and so I'm sure they have enough to piece together his vision, at least much closer than what we saw, right?
Right. It's a good point.
And, and listen, he's always been, and he said he was always such a class act. You could just tell that it really bummed him out how bad Batman and Robin was. Like, he didn't even make apologies. I mean, he did make apologies for it. I'm saying he didn't make excuses for it. It's like, I'm sorry. He just had this, and I always just felt like it didn't deserve that. And quite frankly, without that film, in my view, that's sort of the grandfather to the Nolan trilogy anyway. That's the genesis of it. It's where it came from.
So Forever was edited by Dennis Verkler and Mark Stevens. I mean, I don't even know if they would have the I don't know, the memory to be able to put it all together, or maybe they do. I don't know if they would even want to shepherd this back to existence or what, because I imagine some of those movies, some of the participants would want to distance themselves for whatever reason, maybe because of it's, they want to be taken seriously, and Forever was kind of a silly movie in some respects. So I don't know. It depends. It depends on who would want to
that movie
step in.
served its purpose, because what Warner Brothers really wanted to do was, first of all, it had the box office success they were hoping for, and it brought more of a wider audience. Batman Returns was a very divisive film. I mean, there was a backlash with McDonald's because the Penguin was so vile. I mean, it was an issue, and there's a reason they didn't ask Tim Burton to come back. Although I still would have loved to seen another Tim Burton Batman film, but with the problem with those films for me, like, I love '89. I felt like that one's like Tim Burton made a Batman movie, and then I feel Batman Returns is Tim Burton's made a Tim Burton movie with Batman characters in it.
Yeah.
I would like to have seen him make just a Batman Tim Burton movie, right? And do that again, but who knows? I like at the end of Batman Forever how the doctor is got the Tim Burton hair.
Oh yeah, right.
And Arkham, yeah.
So,
that's great. All right, so listen, let's shift gears. So it's been a couple weeks. DC Fandom, big hit, all that stuff. Cool things dropped left and right. And one thing for certain, no matter what you think of Justice League or whatever, I think it's something we can say definitively that nothing drives the buzz for Batman like a solo Batman film. It just doesn't. Like the Matt Reeves trailer, the hits that had online, the excitement that it built, the naysayers that did a 180, which, I have friends that were texting me going, all right, dude, I'm in. I'm sold. I had no idea that it was going to look like that. And they had their apprehensions about Pattinson. And by the way, listen, we haven't seen the final film yet, and we certainly haven't seen enough of his performance to really judge it. But from my view, that trailer was perfect. I just thought it was perfect. Bob, you liked it, right?
Yeah. Oh God, absolutely. In fact, if the movie is as good as the trailer indicates, holy crap, it's going to be gigantic. Because again, we seem to be in this period of time where suddenly it's cool to be dark, and there was a period of time there in which Marvel ruled the universe, and again, there's nothing wrong with it. I love the Marvel movies just as much as the DC movies. But the thing is, when Marvel's tone was leading the way through that period of time, there was an expectation that the DC movies should also have that same tone. Hence Shazam, which to me was a great movie, but kind of a Marvel movie. But now, because of Joker, we're now back into that sort of dark, gritty, noirish tone for some of these movies, which is great in and of itself. The Batman movies almost have to be like that, as far as I'm concerned, even though I still think that at some point in the future, we're going to get some kind of movie with more of an Adam West kind of Batman. I just feel that is eventually going to happen. But I'm glad to see that it's actually getting darker. This seems darker than Joker. This seems darker than the Nolan trilogy. Certainly, it seems like that long Halloween kind of vibe is seeping back in, and it looks so unbelievably outstanding. And I think one of the things that makes me so excited about it is the fact that Batman is such an ultimately pliable character. You can do so many different things with the Batman character, and they keep plumbing the depths of how gritty they can go. And seeing in the first couple of frames, seeing a victim of one of the villains killed by having their face duct taped was just one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen in my life, being someone who's claustrophobic. So from that point forward, I was completely sold. And then to see Batman later on just raging on that clown-faced villain, whoever it was, one of those gang members, was just incredible to see. Again, there's so many different touchstones. You can do different stories and you can set different tones, but then I'm always relieved when the directors go back to those Batman tropes that we all recognize, that we all kind of look for, and those are invariably present no matter who is shepherding the Batman character. And it's all over the place in the Matt Reeves trailer so far.
Yeah, and Freak, when you saw that top of the trailer that Bob referenced, did you know that was the Riddler right out of the gate?
No, not on the it was sensory overload, It was kind of almost the same feeling I had. I think it was the first Dark Knight trailer. It might have been the second one, but whatever one you heard, the laughing, the first kind of semi-Joker reveal they gave, it had that same feeling, that same kind of tone, because if you remember, that one kind of started off with the laughing, with the echoey laughing before you even saw any actual movie, just like we heard the duct tape in this one, which is so brilliant.
Chilling.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I'm always more of a fan of a real world Batman. I mean, I love, the Zack Snyder version of it too, as well. More Batman the better, as we mentioned earlier. But
and you're getting more of that as well.
Yes,
we'll get to that
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Never enough. But and thank God finally too. Maybe a small point, but it was so nice when he removed the cowl. He had the eye makeup on.
Right.
I mean, even Nolan, as real as Nolan, like somehow, Christian Bale miraculously had this perfectly, clean face after he took the cowl off, And I love the fact that they're kind of almost leaning into that, that's almost like there's that one shot where it's like, it almost looks like a mask he's wearing, he's got the scarf tucked around his nose, Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we know is that Matt Reeves is certainly wanting this Batman to be like, he made that suit, right?
Right.
That's his. And it's very gritty and real because of that. And I think that's one of the reasons the makeup choice was made, was, now let's own it. Like he's there's just something so real about it. And that's what I love about the feel of this, is that I feel like even more so than Nolan's world in a sense, and I'm not comparing these, obviously we haven't seen the finished product anyway. And for the record, if this is a better movie than the Nolan films, I welcome that, because I love for these films just to get bigger and better. Right.
Sure.
But man, the potential of this with only 25-30% of the movie shot, and we got that trailer. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just what's in store for the rest of this film?
I know.
Yeah, I heard that there was, and it's strictly a rumor at this point, but I heard that there is at least one more bat suit in the movie that we haven't seen in the trailer. It may not have been shot yet. And I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I'd be also interested to see what that suit looks like, because while I'm super excited about this movie, and I love the Nolan series of films too, I'm not a huge fan of the armored Batman because I think for some reason I feel like Batman should be smarter and more agile and more stealthy than to require all kinds of armor. I don't know why. I feel like if Indiana Jones didn't need armor, then Batman does. Why should Batman need armor then? I'm just kind of weird that way. But
Yeah.
I like the look of this suit. I think as far as the armored suits go, this one looks real. There was something about the Christian Bale suits that looked still kind of rubbery. Like they hadn't quite worked out how to make the hard parts look like they were solid. It just looked like a rubber suit. Where even in the Burton movie, they kind of emphasize about, well, it's a rubber suit. And certainly in the Val Kilmer iteration and the George Clooney iteration, they each, I think even one point, Nicole Kidman even uses the word latex, like, oh, that's just a latex suit.
Yeah, well, she pushes it in with his chest. It is goes with it and everything, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Listen, I'm a sucker for that scene. I think that scene's hot. That's just me. Am I weird?
No, you're right.
That's. I mean, they were both at the top of their game physically too. They were a gorgeous couple.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love the collar too on the new suit where
Oh,
you
yeah,
can
man.
actually turn his head. That alone was just, it looked, and that again, it shows you with film, all those paparazzi pictures we got, which when I saw those, I think it was mostly the stuntman though. It wasn't so much Pattinson, but in the graveyard, those that all went around a few months back, just shows you when stuff is actually used, with filters and film and touched up. That suit looks like a totally different suit than we saw in those paparazzi. To me, it did.
Yeah,
It popped in a totally different way.
I don't know if you guys noticed that the gauntlets on the Pattinson suit look like the gauntlets from the Ninja iteration of Batman. I don't know if you've seen the Ninja. Well, there's an animated movie out now, but there was also a graphic novel that put all the Batman characters back in sort of feudal Japan. And Batman's ninja suit has those, they look like darts or something on the gauntlet.
Oh, right.
It was like, so you can tell that Matt Reeves is, and certainly the costume designer, who I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the costume designer on this film, but they were clearly doing their homework, looking at all the reference material, incorporating all kinds of things. The only thing that I haven't really heard a satisfactory answer about is the bat emblem on the Pattinson suit, what exactly that's made of. There were initial rumors about it being parts of the gun that Joe Chill used to shoot Wayne's parents, but then I also heard other rumors that it might also be more of a bladed weapon or parts of a bladed or two bladed weapons put together to look like the bat logo. So I'm not sure what that is, but I'm certainly excited to find out.
Yeah, and to kind of come in full circle on the point you made earlier, Bob, I was holding on to it in my B-reel as it was rolling, as I say. You mentioned the fact that there might be another bat suit, and maybe there is. I don't know anything about that rumor, but I'm not dismissing anything. Who knows? But what I will say is that what we do know, this is coming from the director's mouth, very literally, is that, Penguin, which by the way did not.
Oh my
God! Yeah,
that's the podcast on itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So but the Penguin, Catwoman, Riddler, even Matt Reeves said like they're just coming into their own, right? They're not. And he's like, even Oswald's not Penguin yet. Like he doesn't even like being called Penguin.
Right.
And Catwoman is still just Selena. She's not really, she hasn't really grown into the role of Catwoman yet. That's why her costume's this preliminary house-made costume. And so I think we're going to probably see an evolution of all these characters to some degree, especially if this ends up being a trilogy, which I certainly hope it works, and it is.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Bob, but I just want to say real quickly about the costumes with the Riddler specifically. I know this may be the unpopular thing to say, and I kind of got into it kind of in a cute way with Andy from Holy Batcast online. But I actually like the Riddler suit. I think it's like it's so freaking creepy, and it's a cool. It's the same kind of feeling. Again, not to compare everything to The Dark Knight, but I remember the first time I saw Heath Ledger with all the makeup. I'm like, what? Is that Joker? What?
Right.
And then it's kind of almost the same feeling when I saw the Riddler, and especially when I figured out it was Riddler. I was like, oh man, if that could be actually, if they stuck with that, maybe more of a polished version of that as the movie goes on. I mean, that could be iconic, especially with the glasses over the mask.
The goggles,
That's my favorite part. It's like nerd with like psychotic guy, or whatever,
I love the potential for the unintended consequences of Batman's theatricality influencing the villains to also be theatrical, to match Batman on the theatrical thing for whatever motivation. I love that concept because it's really driven by real world things, and not to get too political, but with certain presidents like our current president, the inclination is to rise to that level of, however you want to describe it, awfulness, volume, just the level of nastiness that we get from certain people in public view. You almost feel like you have to match that in order to fight back against it.
Right.
And so I get the sense that maybe we're seeing the embryonic versions of Riddler, Catwoman, and so on, certainly Penguin, exploring that theatricality in order to match Batman's theatricality. So, and that's kind of an unintended consequence of the Batman's existence, right? So I'll be interested to see whether or not Matt Reeves explores that as being kind of, well, I know that there's a possible, and this obviously is a pretty big spoiler, but there's a possible connection between the Wayne family and the rise in crime in Gotham in this particular universe, in this Earth 2 universe. So, I think maybe that's kind of a subtext that we're going to get with the Batman. It'd be fun to see.
It'd be really fun to see. Absolutely. And, one thing that wasn't lost on me is Matt Reeves is not fucking around to let the audience know that this is going to be a hands-on badass Batman, because he beats the living shit out of that guy. And it's intense. It's intense. And all the, we can debate the warehouse scene in B versus S, or, any given scene, the nightclub.
That's pretty close. Yeah.
The nightclub scene in The Dark Knight, etc. I'm just kind of mentioning some fan favorite scenes and fight scenes. I'm looking at that going, that's my personal favorite one. I don't know why, because I know it's not a fight scene per se, because I don't think the guy fights back. Is it a fight and one guy just beats the living out of him?
Well, and the fact that he stops for a second. That he stops for a second and then continues on, like he has him down totally, and then he's like, "No, I'm not done with you yet," and then he goes in for some more.
Yeah, like just one more.
Nothing better than Berserker Batman. That's
right.
That's exactly what that is.
Yeah. Oh man, it's a bloody perfect, tone perfect. I absolutely love. I've watched it 1,000 times.
Yeah, me too.
I really did. I showed one of my best friends. I was at his house, and he and his wife are really. They're casual fans, but they're super into it when they're watching it. You know what I mean? Like they could never do a podcast on this stuff, but man, they love it. And we sat around with some wine and we watched that damn thing on YouTube on their TV, I bet 10 times. I mean, it was just so great.
Well, and the Nirvana track too. You reminded me a little bit.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes. I mean, the same vibe as when I saw the Logan trailer, when they used the Johnny Cash Hurt track too. It had that so that set the tone for the whole trailer.
Did they also pivot the score off of the Nirvana
yes
track too?
Yeah, that's
incorporated into the score as well.
Totally. Yeah, they actually added to. It's almost like they they didn't sample it, but they put it into Pro Tools or whatever they did, and then added additional music to the original track, that's genius too. If the other movie follows suit to that, that's going to be crazy.
Oh yeah.
What's really cool for me, Bob, and because I know you and I are both fans of Freak, is that hear him give commentary about the music in the trailer. Just something really cool. Just something really cool, man. You talk about street cred. I'm not even going to say anything. Like, I'm
Oh, well, we
bowing
got it.
down.
One of these days we got to do all that. We should do a whole show just about the soundtracks of just, if we can just stay with Batman, between the
Yes.
Hans Zimmer stuff and the Danny
sure.
Elfman stuff, we can get more than an hour out of that,
Yeah, and in fact, with the Snyder Cut trailer, the new Snyder Cut trailer,
Yes.
the lyrics of the Cohen song match the shots that are used. At least the lyrics taken into a certain context match the shots that are in that trailer, which makes it even more interesting and not surprising, because Zack Snyder loads up as much as he possibly can with symbolism and references and Easter eggs. So that's all something that obviously was expected, but at the same time, kind of a surprise, and nice to see the connection there too.
Let's just talk about that for a second. So, as you guys know, the Snyder universe is a mixed bag for me, but there's some stuff I like. There's some stuff I downright love, especially the way he cast. The casting, it's A+ for casting.
Yes.
I'm not like super thrilled about this thing coming out. And what I mean by that is I'm thrilled for the fans, and I'm certainly going to watch it, and I'll watch anything Batman. One thing that I got from the trailer was the overt CGI stuff is still just like very Zack Snyder staple. And
it's work in progress. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a work in progress. That's fair. But even it's still akin to his finished products. However, the man can capture some really great moments with these characters, even in B versus S. And I'm looking forward to seeing that stuff, the character-driven stuff, because he can deliver where that's concerned. He did it. He especially did it with Watchmen, which is my favorite film of his.
And don't forget, this was written by the guy who wrote Argo. So in that respect, I mean, Chris Terrio knows what he's doing as far as screenplays go.
Sure.
And of course, we can argue about Rise of Skywalker, and which I also liked. And I also have been a huge supporter of BVS and the Snyder Cut. So I'm a fan of Chris Terrio's work. But even that aside, from an unbiased, objective point of view, Chris Terrio is an Oscar winner. I mean, so there's no denying that the guy knows how to write a script. So I think what we're going to get is obviously a lot of Chris Terrio filtered through the lens of Zack Snyder. So I think that's what we can expect. And from some of the things that I've heard that's in the Snyder Cut, there are going to be some shocking moments. I mean, shocking. And some I don't know if they're true, but from what I've heard, based on, again, the rumors, some of these plot lines, some of the character interaction, to put it that way, in this, what would say, I guess it's going to be a 4-part series. They're just going to be mind-blowing. There's going to be mind-blowing stuff in this.
Well, and before I segue, and I'm looking forward to that stuff. I am. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a fan of these characters. I'm not some anti-Snyder hater that sit on my hands and refuse to watch this. Of course, I'm going to watch it. And again, there's certain things I'm really much looking forward to. But before I transition out of the Affleck, I was going to transition to the return of Affleck. Before I get out of the Snyder Cut thing, and also obviously give Freak an opportunity to comment on it if he wanted to. But Bob, you had texted or emailed me and just said, "Don't let me forget to mention the black suit."
Oh yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
On
Okay.
our group text. So
here's my thing. When I saw the theatrical cut, and even when I saw some of the photos and spy photos and some of the other little clips that we got, the Superman suit in Justice League looked like ass. It looked terrible, especially when you compare it up against the Man of Steel Superman suit and the Batman versus Superman suit, which were both different. I mean, they both were modifications on the same thing. But for some reason, I was looking at the theatrical cut of Justice League and I'm going, what's wrong with this suit? First of all, Superman looks much smaller as far as his overall build. And it's the blue outer part of the suit is so sheer that you can see right through to that silver undersuit that he wears with some of the muscle definition to add on top of Cavill's physique. So I was wondering, why does that look so fucking bad? Why does it look like there's much less Cavill, much less opaqueness to the blue part of the suit? It just looked really shitty compared to the previous two movies. Why would they take a step backwards like that? Again, Michael Wilkinson, the costume designer on Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Justice League, is much better than that. And Zack Snyder is much more attentive to details like those sorts of things. He's really into making sure that the physiques of these characters are emphasized and larger than life. So why is this suit so weird? And then I figured it out based on what we've heard in the last month or so. It was because they made the blue suit a certain way in order to transfer it into looking like the black suit, into doing that in post. So how do you set up a blue costume to eventually be made into a black costume, a black and gray costume in post-production? So you alter the appearance of the blue suit with that in mind. So that's why the suit looks so shitty in the theatrical cut, is because they had always intended to take that version of the Superman suit and to modify it in post. So that was the extent of my observation as far as that goes, and quite a relief, because it was kind of shocking. We had never received confirmation that a black suit was even intended. And the other thing was, I always wondered why they didn't go back to the black suit from that sequence in Man of Steel, where Superman does wear a black suit when he's in that kind of dream sequence with Zod, where Zod's showing him what he wants to do with Earth as far as terraforming it. And you see Cavill standing there in a black suit. Well, why didn't they just reuse that suit? Well, I guess you can't readily go to one of the old suits from however many years earlier it was, use it again, because it's probably worn, it's probably disintegrated a little bit over time. So they had to make another blue suit and then kind of cater it to the idea of changing it in post. So that explained a lot for me in terms of why Superman just looked like hell in the theatrical cut, along with everything else that made him look like hell. One of the things that just boggles my mind is how anyone could have put their name to that movie. Seeing that face replacement on Henry Cavill is beyond me. I never would have. I would have done the Alan Smithy thing and taken my name off of that. Because
I still wonder. So I don't want to go down too big of a rabbit hole of this, but this is Justice League related really quickly. And I mean, I agree with everything you all say about everything pretty much, but you've heard rumors about, a lot of people were kind of hoping at Fandom we get a Man of Steel 2 announcement, and him appearing in Black Adam or something like that. And then there's always the rumors that you've heard that Henry Cavill supposedly is difficult, like not with fans, obviously he's incredible with fans as we know, but like with executives, or he's trying to throw his weight around too much or whatever. I just wonder, I know as an artist, if I was an actor, I'm a musician, but if I was an actor and I went and saw the theater cut of my image of Justice League on the screen looking like that, I would have freaked the F out. I would have been like, what? No one contacted me about this? Like, you're going to let millions and millions of people see me looking like that? I mean, it's not an ego thing either. It's just like, this is $1 million or, $1 million production. And the fact that showed up, I can't imagine that he gave the okay, like, oh, cool, go ahead, make my, let that image sear across the internet for the next 10 years or whatever. I would think that would have left a really bad taste in my mouth, I would think, if that went down the way it did, so. Because
most people watching the movie don't understand the CG aspect of it. They just say, did Henry Cavill have a terrible facelift, or did he get beaten, or was there a disfiguring accident that he was in? Why does he look like that?
And it's the first fucking scene in the movie too, it's like right from the get-go, it's that's got to be, I'm sure actors already have. I have a lot of friends that are well, you're one, Rick, so like, how would you, if someone, put yourself in those shoes, if someone had like altered the way your face, which is what, a big part of your calling card, alternate your face, and it showed up on this huge screen,
It would be upsetting, and I know that everything's relative, so I'm going to proceed with caution to make sure I don't say something that sounds disrespectful to the process and being an actor in the art. I can see him being disappointed, but at a certain point, I'm also like, but how many people get to play Superman in a movie?
Well, sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I can only feel so sorry for him. And believe me, I tried. I was reading for, I've told the story a million times, so I don't care. I'll tell it again. But I was reading for Superman back when Brandon Routh was cast. And I got relatively damn close. and it was a very weird experience because I remember the day Brandon Routh was cast. It was like this, you deep down, you're probably not going to land a role like that. But when you're talking about doing screen tests with Kevin Spacey and that's kind of your next move, you're going, holy shit, like this is crazy. And then you don't book it. So I just, sometimes I think about that kind of stuff and like, man, these people are just should be grateful that they're working. I mean,
of course.
98% of actors don't. With that said, in the confines of them working and creating their art, yes, I could see that being very disappointing, obviously. And so good for him that we're going to be able to see his actual performance in without his Tom Cruise Mission Impossible mustache CGI'd out.
Yeah.
That's number
so
one.
Terrible. Yeah.
So it's so terrible. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't really like what Snyder did with Superman after MOS. I don't like what he did with him in B versus S. So we'll see. We'll see if I get a little redemption as a fan myself.
Did you like Man of Steel? Did you like Man of Steel, Rick? Or were you a big fan? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, what's funny is that the only thing I didn't like was the destruction porn at the end.
Right.
But one of my favorite things about B versus S, and there's a lot of things I like about B versus S, a few things I love. And this is one of them, actually. I love the way they address that and they sort of retroactively make that work for me in MOS.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, the scene where Bruce runs into Armageddon to save that little girl is one of the best Bruce
it's
Wayne.
incredible.
I put that up there with Bruce escaping the pit and Rises. I mean, it's that good.
Wow.
For sure. All right. So speaking of Affleck, I mean, I never thought the guy would return at all, ever. And I still will say, and maybe I shouldn't say this because I've had egg on my face already, but I don't think we're going to see him again. And my guess is this is probably a relatively small role that he's passing the torch off to Michael Keaton, but the fact remains he's in it. To what extent, I don't know. Are we going to see him in his bat suit? Probably, right? If he's signed up to do it, but who knows? But what a really cool treat for fans that fans of Snyder's universe, that he gets to come back and at least pass the torch on to the new DCU Batman, which is Michael Keaton. Right? It's just remarkable. And by the way, the concept art from the Flashpoint with Keaton, that looks like the '89 suit to me.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
which is just beautiful.
It had the yellow oval too, right? Didn't
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Yeah. And our own Pete Vera, who is a big BOF contributor, has his hashtag Team Yellow Oval. Bill just
right.
a note that says it's MOS, not MLS. I said MOS, Man of Steel. Get that note out of here. Get that Post-it note out of here. That should be on camera. Get that Post-it note.
Yeah, you know what? I know we've kind of changed subjects, but I had a question for you, Rick, about Man of Steel and about basically overall Zack Snyder's Superman. And my question is, and this is for anyone who is a little bit skeptical in terms of how that character was handled by Zack Snyder and then eventually Chris Terrio as well. We kind of already saw the Christopher Reeve Superman, and I'm wondering whether or not doing something slightly different with Superman was such a terrible idea, because I get just concerned about doing the same thing over and over and over again, just because whether it's fan service or whether there's just nothing more that you can do with an all-powerful character.
Sure.
What would you have done differently with Superman that in fact wasn't just the humble, good-natured Christopher Reeve Superman? What other dimensions could we, let's say the three of us are making Man of Steel 2, or we go back in time to 2012 or whatever when they're making Man of Steel, we're making the decisions. What do we do with the Superman character that distinguishes him from the previous versions of the Superman character? How do we handle that? What would you do differently?
I think that he did do that with Man of Steel. I think that I really love that film, and that's not Chris Reeve's Superman at all.
Oh, okay. I thought you were disputing Zack Snyder's version of Superman.
What he did with him in B versus S.
B versus S. Okay.
I like him in MOS. If I inadvertently said MLS, maybe I did. I don't know. I like him in Man of Steel. The only part of that movie I didn't like, to give BVS credit, retroactively fixed for me anyway. So I give Man of Steel an AA minus. I mean, it's my second favorite Snyder film. Watching it being my favorite.
And do you think did you think in Batman versus Superman that he was still too
It's I think there's a fine line in not being Chris Reeve Superman and then not being a morose, whiny, unlikable Superman. Like I just didn't like his character, and then I didn't like the way the best part of that film with him is when he goes off to certain death and tells Lois that she is his world, and like that was very Superman. And then, you know what I mean? It was just a really beautiful moment. But then he gets killed, and like we were just getting to know him, and I didn't even like him in this chapter, right? I liked him in chapter 1. I didn't like him in chapter 2. Now he's dead. It's just it was just a weird rushed thing, right? And look,
Gotcha.
we go down a rabbit hole with this all day long anyway.
Yeah, of course. I'm not gonna do that to you.
No. I don't mean that to be rude. I just mean as the host of the show, I don't want it to be 3 hours, and not that you guys. So I know you guys have things to do.
Are you sure? Good Lord, I could talk about this through Labor Day.
But if the original sin, I think, will always be that Cavill and his Superman and Man of Steel as a film deserved a proper sequel before they did B versus S, and that would have been.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that.
Yeah.
Final question.
I would disagree with that.
Yeah.
Final question about Justice League before we get out of here, and you guys might know the answer to this. In the trailer, there is the scene where he gets killed by Doomsday, at least in the Zack Snyder trailer. So you think we're gonna get that revisited in the Zack Snyder's Justice League? You know what I'm talking about? That scene where he's hanging on his back.
Because I've heard it's Superman's scream when he's stabbed by Doomsday. I've heard that it's that Superman caliber scream that awakens the mother boxes. That's the storyline rumor now. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to revisit that just to establish the awakening of the mother boxes and drawing in Steppenwolf because of the awakening mother boxes. So I think that's all incorporated in almost in the same way that they did Batman versus Superman, starting out with the Black Zero event and point of view on it. I think we're going to see the same Doomsday murder of Batman or murder of Superman, but from a different point of view. I think we're going to get a different angle on it, or someone else's perspective on that action sequence.
It's the same incident that took place in B versus S. It's a flashback or somebody else's. Yeah, I agree. I think that's
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's the route that I was actually going to say that. That's very well put. All right, guys. So I want to come back full circle to the Batman trailer to wrap this up. But is there any final thoughts on anything that we've discussed thus far before I do?
Well, I think it's exciting that Ben Affleck's coming back to play Batman for this role. And I actually think that the opening of the door means that there could be a possibility. I certainly haven't heard anything along these lines. I don't think anyone has. I don't think anyone will for a while. But I think if the Snyder Cut does well on HBO Max, there may be an opening for more of Affleck's Batman subsequent to that. I still believe that may happen. And remember, the only thing that was dispelling that concept, the only thing that was, like, oh, well, Affleck will never come back to play Batman, was the concept that he had said that it would destroy him. His friends are telling him, don't play Batman again because you're going to fall into that pit of whatever it was, alcoholism and whatever else, addiction. And, but now that door is open again. So that excuse is gone. And I don't mean to downplay it as just a simple excuse. Obviously, it's a valid reason, but this could mean more Batman. And I still think that there's like a Mandalorian Ben Affleck Batman series somewhere in there for HBO Max.
Well, what I'll say is I respectfully disagree. I think this is the end. With that said, doesn't mean I'm right, because the fact that he's
multiverse, Rick, multiverse.
Right? No, I get it. It's not about that they couldn't do it. I'm just saying I don't know him personally, so I should probably not even say this. I just kind of get the feeling that this is his should I say swan song? I don't know.
Maybe.
Whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
All I know is this: it's an exciting time for fans, and like everybody's kind of getting what they want. I'm getting my gritty, realistic solo Bat film. Batfleck fans are getting him returning. All of us are Michael. One thing that unites Batman fans, by the way, is Michael Keaton's Batman. No one doesn't like his Batman, regardless if he's number 2 or 3 on your list. No, there's no one that's not a fan of Michael Keaton's Batman.
I don't think we have a full concept of how gigantic Flashpoint is going to be, specifically because of the 2 Batman characters in it. Obviously creating most of the draw. I don't imagine obviously, Ezra Miller's Flash has his supporters, and and that's great. And I don't mind his character either. I don't mind Ezra Miller's performance as Flash. So I'll enjoy that as well. But the thing that's really going to draw me into seeing that movie multiple times, Batman, and seeing both of them as Batman, on probably not together, but certainly in the same film, is going to be unbelievably enormous, beyond what I think we're all foreseeing at this point.
No, I agree. I think it's going to be huge. I think the Matt Reeves thing is going to be huge, and maybe the Snyder thing will be successful on HBO Max. At the end of the day, it's just a great time to be a fan. It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And hopefully by the time this movie comes out, Bob, Flashpoint or the Batman, we can have people in theaters again, and these movies can be successful again.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
That would be great, because it was really weird to watch Bill and Ted on my couch the other day, and it's brand new. I can't lie, that was weird. I was like, this is not how I planned on seeing this. I was going to grab some high school buddies, and we were going to go to the theater, but here we are. Okay, so coming back to the trailer real fast, just to wrap this up before we do some plugs. Freak, start with you. What is the thing that you're after watching the trailer? What is the thing that you're most looking forward to in the Batman, the film?
Geez. I mean, like Bob said earlier, of just, if the movie's just basically what we saw in the trailer, just basically fleshed out more, I'll be happy no matter what. But I'm just the journey Pattinson, like, I'm just so excited to see what he does with the little bit we saw. I was one of the people, I was excited the idea of him being Batman in the first place. I wasn't one of the naysayers. I was cheering for him to get the role. And he's far exceeded, at least so far, what I think he's going to be. And I think he's going to develop into this character. And he could be, I could see him being Batman for the next 10, 12 years. At this point, again, it's a small sample size, but. And, also I'd like to see, I'm looking forward to seeing I keep hearing from Matt Reeves and from other sources that a big part of the film is going to be the relationship between him and Alfred too. So obviously we didn't see any, I don't think there was any Andy Serkis shots in the trailer. I don't remember seeing any, like even small shots. So it'll be interesting to see whenever they release the next trailer or whatever they release next, to see kind of their relationship and how that unfolds as well. Yeah, because of the Alfred Bruce stuff is, good thing that I liked in B versus S. I like the Alfred Bruce stuff a lot. Oh yeah, it was very, very well done. And again, those character moments. And then I obviously love the relationship and the Nolan trilogy. And then going even to Batman and Robin, you have that beautiful scene between Bruce and Alfred. Yeah. That George Clooney. It's a great scene. And so I just love their relationship. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing this interpretation of it. And maybe, quite frankly, I'm going to say that's mine. I'm looking, you know what? it wasn't even my original one. Now that I just said it out loud, that's actually the thing I think I'm most looking forward to, is the Bruce Alfred relationship and how that unfolds. Well, supposedly a lot of the movie is supposed to be revolved around that. It's I'm almost like a morality kind of play thing that wow. He's going through. That's at least what I've been hearing. What a great discussion, man. And just like in real time, I changed what I was going to say. That was cool. That was a really sincere, cool moment. Thanks, buddy. All right, Bob, take it away, man. What are you looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to Matt Reeves' take, Robert Pattinson's take on the motivation of Batman, the motivation of Bruce Wayne, how the death of his parents manifests itself in his character, in his drive. And we already got that hint where, the gang member asks, "Who are you?" And he says, "I'm vengeance." And we've seen the fury of that berserker Batman rage on that guy. So I'm guessing that what we're going to get is another interesting variation on that origin story. Plus, we're already seeing the connections and hearing some of the rumors from the storyline about the connection between the Wayne family and the rise in crime in Gotham. So there may be another angle to that where the Waynes and crime are sort of intertwined even before the existence of Bruce Wayne. So that should be fascinating. The other thing that I'm looking forward to with this movie is to see where the potential is for expanding the universe. The ability, obviously we saw that with the Joker movie, where they did incorporate the Waynes into the story. And there was the potential there for that Joaquin Phoenix's Joker to eventually confront Batman maybe 15 years down the road at some point. But with this movie, with the Batman, I'm going to be interested to see whether or not they'll be able to incorporate more of the superhero type characters into that mix in subsequent films? Like, will this be a universe that it'll be believable to have Superman or Wonder Woman or any of these other
I don't think
Justice
so.
League style characters?
I don't think so. Yeah.
No, and I don't personally want it to. Nothing wrong with you having that opinion. I want me.
Well, Matt Reeves did talk about expanding the universe, that there
He
is
did.
the possible, but I don't know. He didn't say specifically how. He was just talking about expanding the universe. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether or not that will be because I imagine Warner's certainly AT&T, which is now financing a lot of, or I don't know if what does AT&T have a stake in? Obviously the Batman movie. I don't know.
Well, there's the Gotham show. Don't forget that's going to be on HBO Max.
Well, and
that's
what he meant about expanding the universe, is the universe that Pattinson's Batman lives in now can carry on over to the shows, right? I think that's what he's referring to. I think the fact that we're having this Batman coexist with these DCU films, where you're going to have Michael Keaton's Batman, Affleck's Batman, etc., is sort of testimony to the difference and distinction between the two, right? You're going to have this over here. That's the gritty, grounded Batman solo stuff. That's just his universe. And then over here, you're going to have a Batman that's, as I say, mixing it up with gods. But that's what I hope happens. I think that's probably the route that we're going to take. But
I'm not necessarily cheering for it. I'm just saying, like, in terms of how that's going to be handled, how the potential, because we'll see hints of it in this movie. We'll see hints as to whether or not bringing in some of the more supernatural characters would even fit. And right now it doesn't seem like it would, but stranger things have happened with these franchises, and we're discussing several of those stranger things here on the show today. So I'm not ruling, while it's unlikely, I'm not ruling it out.
Well, there you go. And I think stranger things, how did you phrase it?
Stranger things have happened. Yeah.
I think that'll be sort of the hashtag for the show.
There you go.
That's
perfect.
I like it.
Good
All right,
album
guys.
title.
All right, so let's do some plugs and get out of here. Bob, where can people find you online and all that good stuff?
You can find the Bob Cesca Show everywhere you get your podcasts. Also on Patreon at bobcescashow.com. There you go.
Awesome. Freak.
Yeah, the go-to place to make it easy for everything, freekbass.com. That's freekbass.com. And then also, of course, the amazing place, the Twitter machine. I'm at freekbass, freekbass.
If you're on Twitter,
I also wanted to add too, my Instagram has pictures of all of my my forever growing superhero statue collection. So
I love following you on Instagram. It's great.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Great fun. All right, well, guys, thanks for the discussion. I love our little panel here that we have going. It's great fun, and I appreciate your friendships as well. You guys are just really awesome guys.
Oh, you bet. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So to everybody out there listening, we really appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter at Batman on Film and at the Bat Pod Network. Follow me on my personal handle at Shewrick, SHEWRICK. And that's all we have today. We'll have announcer Rachel take us out.
You have been listening to the official podcast of the one and only Batman on Film website. On Twitter, follow BOF at Batman on Film and the Batman Podcast Network at BatPod Network. For Jet and everyone at Batman on Film, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening to the authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on Film.